And we are recording
Got it.
with Dr. William Bill Birnes on Sunday, October 15th, 2023 at 2:14 p.m. Eastern Time. And I was just telling him that same thing I've brought up on the show several times. My iMac is I've never once in all the years of using Apple, which for me has been, I don't know, the last 20 years of my life, ever had problems with an update. I don't know what this last update was, but this iMac it might as well be trash. I might as well throw it out of this window. And I might. But we were talking beforehand about being sick and not getting out of bed, and that's kind of where I've been. So for anyone wondering where I've been about 20 feet that way sleeping. But that has nothing to do with today's show. We're going to talk about NASA finding an asteroid just beyond, I believe you said, Jupiter, full of all of the necessary ingredients for life, and that may give more credence to the idea that Earth was terraformed. And for anyone that doesn't know, Dr. Birnes has been on here several times before. He's the author of UFOs in the White House. It is a fantastic book. He is also the narrator of The Day After Roswell by General Corso, which is again up there, the best UFO books there are. And I wouldn't plug your book if I didn't love it. I wouldn't keep having you on here if I didn't love it. And as I was just telling you, the problem with being your own boss is that you can take days off with no repercussions. But the upside of being your own boss is if I didn't like talking to you, I just wouldn't have you on again. So the fact that I keep having you on shows that I really do love talking to you. So Dr. Birnes,
Up
take it away.
the upside of being your own boss is you can't get fired except by yourself.
Yeah, that is true. Or
There
a
you
lack,
go.
or yeah, but your landlord can if the revenue doesn't if the revenue stops. But Dr. Burns, could you please introduce yourself to everybody and then kind of take away the show in whichever direction you'd like?
I am Bill Birnes. I am a PhD and an attorney, a JD. I'm a professor of English, retired professor of English, and New York Times bestselling author, and the writer-producer of UFO Hunters and Ancient Aliens on
Beautiful. And
History Channel. And also, I'm one of the guests on The Unexplained on Fox with William Shatner.
beautiful. And could you maybe introduce my audience to the topic that we're talking about today, the asteroid found?
One of the most fascinating NASA exploits just took place. NASA years ago launched the OSIRIS-REx, which was a space probe to visit the asteroid Bennu. The premise was, could we collect rocks? Could it land on the asteroid? Could a robotic arm reach into the surface of the asteroid, scoop up dust, collect rocks, put them in a capsule? The OSIRIS-REx moves back toward Earth, launches the capsule to Earth, and the capsule lands at one of the most highly, and I've been there, one of the most highly secret United States military proving grounds in the country, the Dugway Proving Grounds in Utah. Dugway, we nicknamed Dugway Area 52 because Area 51 has been discovered. So it landed in Area 52. What happened next was amazing. They analyzed the dust. They analyzed the rocks. And they found water. And they obviously found carbon, because if they found water, they found carbon. Found hydrogen. They found bacteria. Bacteria floating in space. Let's just say there are two basic premises here. One premise is that throughout the universe, not just the solar system, but throughout the entire universe, there's water ice, which means there's carbon, and carbon's a building block of life here on on Earth, and bacteria. It's naturally occurring in the universe. That throws out all the arguments that, oh, life on Earth is just, this is no other place, we're the only ones in the... No. The building blocks of who we are out there in the universe. That's one. But here's a more intriguing possibility. What if a race of hominids, let's call them Homo galactica, for want of a better term, a race of hominids lives throughout the universe? We're a subspecies of that species. We know, for example, right as we speak, as you and I talk to this audience, deep in the Amazon jungle, and you can find this on, you can go to YouTube, you can find it. Deep in the Amazon jungle, the last two members of an extinct race of, call them little people, are hiding in the forest. And explorers in the Amazon, first of all, you do not touch these people, because our bacteria, our diseases can infect them, just like we infected the Native Americans on this continent when white Europeans arrived in North America. We brought with it the plague. They're peeking out from behind a tree. Little people, these 4-foot little people, like the little people of Scotland, the little people, the little people of Ireland. There they are. I mean, proof positive that a whole other race of hominids, probably from hundreds of thousands of years ago, still exist in isolation. Extinct now, but existed to this very day. And that means that our concept of humanity, our concept of who we are, changes dramatically. And that is what scientists are believing they found from that comet Bennu.
Why would it land at Dugway? I mean, other than the obvious that it's classified, but that's, I guess that gives all the fuel to the idea that it is classified and that it is something deeper than just a, run-of-the-mill NASA mission.
Let's just say, let's speculate. What if the degree of classification is, let's say it's above the President of the United States, above all the world leaders? If it's above all the world leaders, if there's some entity above them all, who would that entity be? The CIA? The FSB?
Majestic
Who would
12.
it be? What if the entity, and I'll tell you who told this to me, what if the entity that says, no disclosure, this is classified, is not a part of this government? Or if it's part of this government, it is so deeply buried. Remember when Bill Clinton, years and years ago, Bill Clinton asked his newly appointed Deputy Attorney General Webster Hubbell, Hubbell.
He had 2 questions, yeah.
And he said, I have 2 questions that I need answers to. And he said, could you investigate this? Question 1, who killed President
JFK?
Kennedy?
Yeah.
Question 2, what happened at Roswell?
It's so great. It's so great.
And Webster Hubbell came back and said to Bill Clinton, there is a government within the government.
Yeah.
Years later, Hillary Clinton was visiting the Lawrence Rockefeller Ranch. And Lawrence Rockefeller handed her a letter. It was a letter to Bill Clinton, President Clinton. And the letter said to President Clinton, release what you know about UFOs. When Hillary Clinton ran in 2016, she said, I'll tell you what we know about UFOs as long as it doesn't compromise sources and methods. Jimmy Carter on the campaign trail in 1976 and then again in 1980 said the same thing, that I'll release what I know about UFOs. What did Jimmy Carter know about UFOs? Well, we know that he saw one when he was governor of Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
His national security advisor was a gentleman called Zbigniew Brzezinski. Looking at Zbigniew Brzezinski's background, Brzezinski was one of President Eisenhower's Jason scholars.
And everybody listening, Jason is the agency that preceded ARPA and then DARPA.
Yes. From the Jason scholars, that was the creation of ARPA. Under the Jason scholars were a group of individuals. Vannevar Bush was among them. There was an astronomer at Harvard. I forget his name. This was
John von Neumann, was he one of them?
Von Neumann was there, but also there was this one gentleman at Harvard, Mendel something. He was the one who attacked the author of a book about of the 10th planet. He not only did he attack this person, he drove him out of Harvard completely. This group was working under Zbigniew Brzezinski. The group was called MJ12.
Yeah.
The task of MJ12, according to documents that we actually have, folks can go on the internet right now and get those documents. The group at MJ12 was formed to prepare briefing papers on the Roswell crash and the aliens who were in that crash for President Eisenhower. Eisenhower himself was aboard the USS Franklin Delano Roosevelt in Operation Mainbrace in 1952. This is before he ran. This is right before he ran for president. And in that NATO exercise, the first major NATO land, sea, and air exercise, whose purpose was that in the event of a World War III, right, it was to bottle up the Soviet Navy in the North Sea. That was the premise. And it was an exercise to do that. Submarines, aircraft carriers, aircraft, Marines. As they're sailing along in the North Sea, right up from under the FDR, shot a UFO. Right out of the water. Eisenhower was on the bridge of the FDR. The whole bridge crew sees this. Eisenhower turns to the bridge crew, and this was his quote. He says, "We all know what that was, and let's not talk about it." And he goes back down below decks. That was President Eisenhower. President Eisenhower was in Washington, D.C. in July 1952.
For the flyover.
When on 2 successive weekends, again, anybody listening to this can go look at the Washington Post archives. On the front page, they will see this, an echelon of flying saucers over the Washington Monument.
Yeah.
You can see it. It's on the front page of the Washington Post. Talk about disclosure.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
When people say, how come they don't land on the White House lawn? They don't have to. They flew over the White House lawn. They can see that. Eisenhower. Oh, and by the way, our Air Force jets, starfighters, shot down one of these. It crashed in West Virginia on a mountain in Braxton County. To this day, that is celebrated as a festival. It's called the Braxton County Monster. When it crashed, it released a defensive perimeter around itself. It was a robot, just a giant robot. Children in the vicinity started climbing up to see what it was, that crash was. They saw this monster robot. Their dogs ran after the robot. The United States Army dispatched an entire unit to surround the object so nobody would go there. They surrounded it. 2 other flying saucers came down, repaired the object, and it flew away. After that, that's when Eisenhower had this meeting
on the UFO.
with
Oh.
extraterrestrials. It was a secret meeting, obviously, at Muroc, in California, the Air Force, at the Air Force Base there. The services had split in 1947. And he had a meeting with them.
Larry Holcomb's book, Presidents in the UFOs.
Right.
Where's yours are the UFOs in the White House. Larry Holcomb's President in the UFO has a great chapter on this entire thing. For everybody listening, you can go get it on Amazon. Sorry, keep going.
Right. So he had this meeting. One of the results of that meeting was this. They could surveil us. They could be in our skies. We wouldn't shoot them down. They wouldn't shoot us down. In exchange for this agreement, they agreed to deliver to us their technology. Our technology now, directed energy weapons, psychic weapons. I mean, I've been told by folks in, let's just say, no such agency, that we have a weapon. And I know one person who tried to deploy it. We have a weapon that, let's say there is a secret agent in a hotel room. We could get a room next door, turn the weapon on, and that directed energy weapon will give that person a heart attack.
I don't doubt
We
that.
have that weapon.
I don't doubt that.
In fact, someone wanted to deploy it against an astronaut who was talking about flying saucers. The astronaut went public with it and said they were trying to use it on him. And that story disappeared immediately. So this is what we have. And one of the theories is that we are part of this larger culture, and that the disclosure of our membership of our species in this larger species, we're not ready to acknowledge that. And this is what was, I'll tell you who told this to me, that we're not ready to acknowledge that because the powers that we have as Homo sapiens, as part of this Homo galactica species, are so intense that if we misuse them, we would literally destroy ourselves. So supposedly what is underway is a gradual, step by step, and I mean mini steps, of accepting the abilities that human beings have, so that what we don't do is use them against each other and wipe us out. Wipe us out before the planet itself ends, but wipe us out. The discovery of what essentially is the building blocks of life on an asteroid far out in the solar system really offers some kind of concrete evidence that there is life out there, and it's our life out there. So when you see the that House Committee on UAPs, and they're mulling over what is it, what do we know, what do we not know, did it surprise you that all they were talking about were videos from 2004, 2005, 2011? Nobody's talking about the entire history of from 1945 over the nuclear test facilities, 1947 in Roswell, 1947 in other places in New Mexico, Juan Zamora in the 1960s in Socorro, New Mexico, the Brooklyn Bridge sightings, when this person, not a real name, Linda Cortilli, was literally beamed out of her apartment the same night. And this was reported in the New York Post. The same night, this was in Lower Manhattan. On that night, traffic came to a standstill on the Manhattan Bridge and the Brooklyn Bridge. Standstill. Everybody saw this thing in the sky. And guess who else was abducted that night? The Secretary General of the United Nations.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Butchus, is that correct?
Perez de Cuellar, I think.
Oh, I got it wrong. I thought it was okay, yeah, sorry.
He was taken to a remote island in the Pacific that was sinking under the ocean. And he was told by them, this is what's happening to your planet. Fix this. That's where we are now.
And that would have to be guided and controlled by, I mean, nothing less than a government within a government, but not necessarily within the US government, an international government.
Which is precisely what science fiction writer Isaac Asimov told me. 50 years ago, we brought Isaac Asimov to Princeton to give a lecture on his works and how his works, I, Robot, Foundation and Empire, how his works, the premise was this, that his works about iRobot, robotics, his works about Foundation and Empire, the Foundationers guiding things on how they were so predictive of what was happening on college campuses. I mean, imagine this. Robot is not an English word. It's a Czech word. It comes from a play called, in Czech, called Robert's Universal Robots. Robot is the Czech word for slave. Didn't exist in English. What Asimov did was he coined a word, the study of robots, called robotics. Robotics was, and now is, I mean, my granddaughter is taking a course in robotics in high school.
Yeah.
Made up word. Colleges are teaching courses in psychohistory. Psychohistory really is a sociobiological algorithm. How forces, just like a computer algorithm, A creates B, creates C, creates D. Change A, you change B. Change B, you change C. It's algorithmic, but it's a social algorithm. So we asked Asimov after the lecture, we said, isn't it, what do you personally think, Isaac, about your idea of psychohistory, which you invented, now being taught on college campuses? And here's what Asimov said. Foundation and Empire is science, not fiction.
Hmm.
And we just stood there stunned. Now, flash forward 50 years, and we are doing UFO hunters, and we're interviewing various people from UFO groups around France, Italy, around the country. And one of the people we interview says to us, you know that extraterrestrials live on this planet. Really? And you know that extraterrestrials are no different from us. Really? And he said, extraterrestrials are embedded within governments, I mean, worldwide, not just the United States, within governments, within business, within finance, all over. So we asked him, how do you, what do they look like? He said, they look like us because they are us. And we said, well, how do you communicate with them? And he said, you don't communicate with them, they communicate with you. And we said, well, how does that happen? Here's what he said. He said, wait and see. We get a communication from a group which we thought at first was deep inside the military. It was called the Deneb Group. And one of the stories we were investigating on UFO Hunters, folks can see this on television, it's there, was a crash that took place back in the 70s, between a private plane, private pilot flying from Texas over the Mexican border, just, joyride. It's flying over, there's a desert on the other side of the border, not just Mexico. It was a whole desert. It's called the Cuyami Desert. He's flying over there. And he has a collision with a UFO. Well, the Mexican army sees this on radar, dispatches a unit to the border. This is right near the border. Dispatches a unit to the border to collect all the debris. The UFO, the plane, everything. And they put it on trailers, deuce and a halfs, trailers, trucks, and they're taking it back to an army base when suddenly the whole thing stops dead in the road and all the soldiers die. Now, this whole thing is being monitored. If you think the United States sits behind a wall, you're wrong. This whole thing is being monitored by the Army. When they see this, we send a unit over the border. Nobody asks permission. Nobody says, oh, gee, may I go? Nobody sends that. Send it over the border. They pack up the soldiers, put them over here. They pack up the UFO. They truck the UFO back to the United States, but the plane, they dig a mine shaft, and they bury the plane in a mine shaft and blow it up. Now we're in the Koyami Desert. The Deneb group, get this, Tommy, the Deneb group sends us GPS coordinates for the crash. Who's the Deneb group? How do they know? They send us coordinates for the crash. Okay, we're the UFO hunters. We follow the coordinates to the spot. There's nothing here, nothing here. The message is dig. We dig. Pat Uskert, was Army, digging it, and he says, my God, look at this. As we pull away the dirt, it's a mine shaft. It's not just a hole. A hole is a hole. This is literally a mine shaft with timbers. Pat goes inside, pops his head back up. He's holding a United States Army gasoline can. Goes back in, pulls out rubber tires, airplane parts. The Deneb group directed us to the crash of a UFO and a private plane in the Koyami Desert. Once we found it, they went silent.
I don't know what to make.
What do you make of that?
It's clearly a some form of limited disclosure or dissemination, or someone wants you to know something, and it's obviously you can then talk about it. You guys are a group that are specifically revolved around, UFO hunters, right? I mean, it's literally, I think it's on your hat. Like it's that is y'all, right? You're telling the story here on my show. There's clearly a desire for dissemination, and I think that's about as much as I could say on that.
So
who are they? Yeah.
So what do you think the goal then is? I mean, where are we going with this? You know what I mean?
It's a long, slow seeding into the public consciousness.
What if, again, speculating, everybody is running around saying either climate change is real or climate change is a hoax? Take your choice, right? What if it's neither? Remember in the Bible, what was the precipitating event of Noah's flood? Let's just say that the Bible tells us there were two civilizations on this planet. One civilization before the flood, another civilization after our civilization after the flood.
What preceded it?
What was the precipitating event of the flood?
I was going to say it's either, I might be a little foggy on it, but it's the general idea of straying from God, and the more specific event of the Tower of Babel.
Correct. The Tower of Babel was straying. Remember
which kind of, I guess I gave the same answer twice.
I remember the whole point. People from the whole civilization were building this great tower to reach the sky.
And it was
because they wanted to reach the creek.
Icarus-ish.
Right. Do we have a Tower of Babel?
The internet?
Worse.
AI?
Yes.
It's definitely I mean, there are some. Yeah, no, it's. I'm reading Leo Zagami's book, about the Illuminati AI, but and he's just comparing AI to like Old Testament, and man, it's I'm not one to go entirely out on the edge, but if that doesn't sound like some end
That
times,
doesn't sound good, does it?
no,
Because and the other half of it is this: in the Tower of Babel, people from all over the world, such as it was at that point,
yeah,
devoted their full energies,
mm,
their lives, their hopes, their dreams to building this tower.
mm.
Can you spell TikTok?
Yeah, there are
How
some,
does AI grow? We're growing it.
yeah,
I mean, people are saying, "Oh, the Chinese bite dance. It's a spy." No, don't be afraid of China. Be afraid of the computer.
mm,
That's what's going on. As the planet, I mean, you're living. Let's just say that you're living in a beautiful basement apartment in Brooklyn or Queens. In the middle of the night, water comes pouring in your apartment, and suddenly your heads are trying to bobble above water, and there's nowhere to go. I'm going to go work on Wall Street. I'm working on Wall Street. Pack my bag, got my attache case, wearing the suit. I'm walking through the rain. Suddenly, I'm waist deep in water in the subway. The planet is flooding. The ice caps on at both poles are melting. So when people say, "Oh, we have to stop climate change," what are you going to do? Stop the Earth from crossing the plane of the universe? The plane which is happening now. It's called precession. We're crossing the
mm-hmm.
plane
Of
of the
the galactic plane.
galaxy, right? The Maya, who weren't, I mean, you call them primitive people, but the Maya predicted astronomically that when we cross the plane of the galaxy, there would be complete devastation. That's what's happening now.
Mm. Yeah, and I feel like there is some evidence to the idea that it's like the Mayans weren't wrong. It was supposed to happen in 2012. Who's to say
Right.
that it wasn't supposed to be? I think a lot of us, myself included, thought if there was any credence to that idea, it was going to be an event, like an A bomb. But
Right.
instead, it's like, no, that might have just been the point of something beginning, right? If I go plant a seed in my garden and it's an oak tree seed, in 100 years, you'll go, yeah, this huge tree, it was planted on this day. But you're not going to
Mm-hmm.
see it right away. You're not going to see it two
Right.
years later. 10 years later, you might start to see it, might have some branches, right? But
Mm-hmm.
it's an event, right? And it more and more so it seems like, yeah, they weren't wrong. Something started in 2012, right? And we're 11 years into it.
Right.
Uh,
Exactly.
so can it be a good event? Is there any positive outcome to this, or is it kind of written in the stars that this is just another flood event? We've strayed from God, and they're about to hit reset. Is there any stopping it? Are we just going through the motions?
I think what it's the story of Noah's Ark. I mean, if humanity is going to survive,
Mm,
um, the point of
need
Noah's
an arc.
Ark, obviously, and you know the story, um, the creator chose Noah because the story goes, um, Noah was a full human, right? Remember the Nephilim came down, and the Bible says, I mean, who are the Nephilim? It doesn't mean giants, it means those who descended. The Nephilim descended, and the Bible says that the sons of the Nephilim mated with the sons of man. And Noah was one of the few full men, in other words, untainted by the Nephilim in his genetics. That's why he was allowed to survive. and it was Noah's sons, and then one of those grandchildren, great was Eber, and Eber was the ancestor of Abraham, and that was the restart of the human race.
Mm.
So, are we in a situation now where those who will survive are those who are protecting themselves against the deluge that's going to happen?
Is it going to be a space arc this time?
Is it? I mean, are we going to be on a? Are there individuals who will actually colonize another planet like Mars?
I don't think you even need to go to Mars, though. You can just go to the moon. It's so much closer.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you just got to get off Earth. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mars is definitely a cool, kind of lofty goal, but in terms of like an emergency outpost, why the hell would you go all the way out? Go to the one right here. It's right here. It's all right. It's a hotel across the street. Why,
It's true.
if
Yeah, yeah.
if my
I
apartment's
get.
being
Yeah.
remodeled and here in
Why grow
Portland,
across the country?
yeah,
The
exactly.
What's on Mars? We're going to find out soon enough, because what the rover is digging up
Mm-hmm.
from craters are places where we thought there were once lakes. And one theory is, and this is a theory that actually comes from SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, who said that life on Earth started because chunks of Mars were blown off by asteroids.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have actual geological proof of this. Chunks of Mars were blown off 4 billion years ago
Mm-hmm.
from the surface of Mars by asteroids, landed in Earth's North Pole.
Mm.
From those chunks contain the building blocks of life.
Yeah. And yeah, and people critique that. They're like that, that's like a once in a lifetime hole in one shot. Not really. If you think what planets really are, it's the gravitational well. So once something got far enough away from Mars, it has like 100% chance of landing here. It'll circle. It might
Right.
take 10 million years, but it will circle and there's no place it can't. Think of a mattress with bowling balls.
Mm-hmm.
Those are planets. So once something gets over the whole of Mars, there's only one place for it to go. It
Right.
can't miss us. It's 100% gonna hit us.
Exactly, because gravity is going to suck it in.
Yeah. So I think, and it was originally myself too, had this misconception that it's like, how did it hit us? That seems like a hole in one. No, it's not at all a hole in one. There's nowhere else you can go.
I mean, we live in this civilization. It is a split second of galactic time.
And the whole, yeah, right. Wouldn't if the formation of the Earth was, then they map it out. If the formation of the Earth was a year long, that human civilization was the last second of the last minute of the last
Yeah.
hour of December 31st.
And the other thing that's going on because of human civilization, the Anthropocene epoch, is that the very top of our atmosphere, very, very top, is gradually floating off into space.
Hmm.
Because of the greenhouse effect, it's floating off into space. So one scientists are suggesting it's not going to be tomorrow, it's not going to be during our lifetimes, but ultimately, like Mars, Earth is losing its atmosphere. So how many millions of years will it take before we become a dead planet? These are the forces at work.
What would be driving I guess, the supranational alien, not run by it, but I mean, Majestic 12-esque government? What would be driving them to disclosure? Do they have a is it like a moral thing? Like it's time to shed light on this? Is it or do they need our help? Are they like, hey, the end times are coming. We kind of need everybody on board to, build an ark or something, you know,
I
or
think
we need to
what's
go
more
settle
like, yeah, I
Mars.
think what's more likely is a kind of a revelation that we're the ones who came to this planet. We're part of a larger species. We're the ones who came to this planet, and that there are hominids just like us throughout the entire universe, that we're not unique on this planet, that we're part of a much larger species, and that once we recognize that and recognize the abilities that this species has, we will be able to save ourselves. I
Mm.
mean, the person who told me this, he was a naval commander. He was the Philip Corso of the Navy.
Okay.
His name was George Hoover. George Hoover was a naval officer who was tasked by the Office of Naval Intelligence to research the Philadelphia experiment, the USS Eldridge at the
Mm-hmm.
Philadelphia Navy Yard. And he came to the conclusion, he said, yeah, he researched it. Yes, it was the degaussing event, and the ship floated down the intercoastal waterway uh, from Philadelphia to Newport News, and people thought it vanished in time, but it didn't. But that prompted, and he was an inventor. He invented the heads-up display that jets now have in
Mm-hmm.
cockpits. And it prompted him to research time travel. And he researched that. And what he said was that the Navy had its own branch of UFO research, just like the Army had inside Army R&D in the 1960s. And he said what the Navy found out was that human beings have the same mental abilities predicting the future, psychokinesis, mind reading, thought projection, that the aliens had. And the guidance, since we're the same species, the guidance was they were teaching us gradually to evolve to a point where we could use it to save ourselves, but not destroy ourselves.
Mm.
A weapon badly used, right? You give a child a gun, a child doesn't know how to use it and shoot somebody.
Mm.
You give somebody who's trained in firearms how to use a gun, and the person is going to know when not to use the gun,
Yeah.
right? Same thing.
And then if we don't, then you have to imagine, is there a certain point where if we haven't learned to use it, are they going to put us down? Because like the child with the gun, the child might shoot themselves, but it also might be if I see a toddler, if I walk out of my apartment and look down the hallway and see a toddler with a 45, I'm going to turn around and shut my full metal door and
Mhm.
go, yeah, I'm not going out there. Or worse, I'm going to make sure, call the cops, and hopefully the cops wouldn't shoot the toddler, but you get the idea. You
Right.
want the person to not hurt themselves, but if that is no longer feasible, what you're not going to do is let the person hurt other people.
Exactly. When you think about this kid in Virginia, kid goes to his mother's gun, which is not locked, not secured, trigger's not locked, takes the gun, puts it in his backpack, shows the gun to other kids. I have a gun. They tell the teacher, they tell the principal. Principal says to the kid, can we search your backpack? No, you can't. I'm not going to let you. They don't search his backpack. The teacher says, I hear you have a gun. Can I search it? Can you give it to me? He takes it out and shoots the teacher. This happened a few months ago in Virginia. Whom do you blame? The kid? The parent? I mean, that's an analogy to what if we have mental weapons that are part of our genetic makeup? I mean, can you imagine having like brain wars with each other?
Yeah.
We'll destroy ourselves.
Yeah.
If the premise of the larger species who deposited us here is not for us to destroy ourselves, is there a gradual evolution to the point where we can use the innate powers that we have not to hurt ourselves? That's what I think is going on.
Do you think it is being accelerated by, I mean, what to the layman, what seems like a tiptoeing towards World War III, Israel, Hamas, Ukraine, Russia, you know, God willing, it doesn't happen, but China, Taiwan. It seems like we're tiptoeing now to where it's not one country on another, US on Iraq, but rather the major players. It kind of seems like we're speeding up that timeline at which we all got to get on board with this real quick.
We are. Human beings have a tremendous capacity to destroy themselves.
Yeah.
And I think what saner minds are saying is, if we can control this, isolate it, the worst will not happen. The worst is the Iranians, let's say, decide they're going to launch a nuke. You know what that's going to do? I mean, the Israelis are going to launch a nuke. They have them.
Yeah.
We will now have two major aircraft carrier strike forces. The Gerald Ford,
it's the newest one,
is a monster aircraft carrier.
It's the biggest ever built.
It is. And the Gerald Ford and its strike group, they can wage a whole war anywhere in the world. You don't need an army.
No.
You just have that.
No, they can take on any nation.
Missile cruisers, missile destroyers, F-35s, submarines.
Yeah.
Thousands of Marines.
Strike groups are, I don't think people understand the power projection of a strike group.
I mean, that's the last thing you want to see.
Yeah. We sent two.
And now they have the Eisenhower, the second largest carrier that we have. And the British are sending an aircraft carrier.
Maybe this is, I just had on sorry to interrupt. I just had on a CIA analyst who I've had on a million times before, Claire Lopez, and she said this is not to escalate. It's escalating to de-escalate. It's because we're looking at someone in the Pentagon, some cooler head is looking at this and they're going, hey man, these two groups are about to have their own little Armageddon, but we're all on the same planet. Right. We got to put an end to, and I hope that's what the case is.
We all live in a yellow submarine. And we don't want it to sink.
No, yeah. We don't want it to be a nuclear sub.
I have to take off.
Oh, yeah. No, well, I know. I know I showed up late. Yeah, guys, if you liked this conversation or any of our last ones, man, I'm telling you, go into the description, go grab the audiobook. It's a fantastic listen. Covers everything we've talked about here as well as the other episodes. Mr. Birnes, is there anything else you'd like to, any closing thoughts you'd like? Do you have any teaser for the next episode we do? Any idea, any topic, or is there so much happening right now that we'll have to pick and choose?
What I want to know.
Yeah.
And let's see what the analysis shows for next time.
All right.
Do scientists find human DNA in that space dust?
Do you think do you think they'll tell us?
Oh, they'll tell us.
All right.
If they do, human history gets rewritten.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Oh God. All right. Okay. Dr. Birnes, thank you, sir. I'll send you an email.
Tommy.
We'll schedule the next one.
Time.
Yes, sir. Always